Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or indeed good evening, depending on your time zone and depending on when you are watching this. It's Wednesday, the 17th of June 2020. Are we already halfway through the working week? My, how time flies. Last weekend seems but a distant memory. I'm James Innes, and this is my YouTube show, The Jobs Guru. I'm delighted to see you here for today's episode. I extend a very warm welcome to all those who have subscribed since the last episode. And if you haven't yet subscribed, then please do think about subscribing so that you don't miss out on the next episode. In today's show, I'm going to be taking a look at the latest workplace, jobs, career and employment news, and then I'm going to be talking about how to prepare a winning CV post-COVID-19. If you have any questions or comments as you watch, then do please type them into that comment section below. If you like what you see, then do please give it that YouTube thumbs up. First, as always, I've had a good read of all the main news headlines, and in particular the workplace, jobs, careers and employment-related headlines. The main headline is the rather interesting government U-turn on free school meal vouchers for 1.3 million children in England during the summer holidays, after a campaign by footballer Marcus Rashford. A campaign you can't really have missed. Well, I say you can't really have missed it, but Boris Johnson did claim live on air yesterday afternoon that he had only become aware of the campaign earlier that very day. And this despite his spokesman being pressed on the issue by journalists the day before, and despite, as one MP put it, the issue being visible from outer space. The main news on the jobs front you likewise can't really have missed, and I know he's a busy man, but I do dearly hope Boris hasn't either. The BBC reports it as coronavirus job cuts warning as 600,000 roles go in lockdown. Very sadly, we all know that this is just the start. As the Telegraph reports, benefit claims hit 2.8 million as UK faces jobs nightmare. The story I'd like to talk a little bit more about today, though, is this one from the BBC. It's coronavirus, do I have to go back to work after lockdown? Now, this is an issue I've covered before in this show, and indeed in my newspaper column, but which has come up again in the news and doubtless will be coming up again and again and again. The bottom line is that if people do not show up for work when asked, then they should not expect to get paid. However, having said that, employers should be extremely careful about disciplining them or sacking them. These really are exceptional circumstances, and I think a little, or maybe even a lot, of common sense is needed on both sides if the country is to achieve a safe return to work for all but the most vulnerable. So now, onto the main topic I wish to talk about today, which is how to prepare a winning CV post-COVID-19. The world of work has changed fundamentally for so many people as a result of the global coronavirus crisis. Millions have lost their jobs or been furloughed, and the jobs market is saturated, to say the least. Competition is going to be fiercer than ever before, so it's vital that you are fully prepared with a strong, compelling CV. But too many job seekers miss out on their dream job because of a small number of easily avoided CV blunders. And in a jobs market like this, you cannot afford to make any mistakes in your CV. Just a few short months ago, December 19, employment levels were at a record high, and now they're swinging towards a record low. So today I'm going to share with you some crucial tips from my best-selling book, the CV book. Yes, I literally wrote the book on CVs. Tips I have updated and adapted to make them even more relevant to these strange COVID-19 times that we live in. So these tips cover common mistakes and how to avoid them, how to make achievements stand out, and how to put a positive spin on being furloughed or made redundant due to COVID-19. I have, of course, seen many thousands of CVs, and that's an understatement, I'm sure, covering pretty much every possible kind of job, and the difference in them is vast. However, the same common mistakes crop up time and time again. Too many job seekers miss out on their dream job because of a small number of easily avoided blunders. And here they are. I've put together a list of 15 for you. So, number one, lack of achievements. Recruiters need to see the ways you have added value throughout your career. Now, I'll be talking about this in a bit more detail later because that's a particularly important one. That's also why it's first on the list. Number two, your CV not being tailored for a specific job role. The one-size-fits-all approach. It's not applicable when it comes to CV writing, particularly in a job market like this. You do need to think about tailoring your CV where you can for specific applications. Look at the job spec, the job description, pick up on keywords. In particular, more and more recruiters are using applicant tracking systems, software, which will skim through and look for such keywords. Number three, missing or inappropriate email addresses. You'd be amazed, well, perhaps you wouldn't, but some of the email addresses I've seen over the years, keep it professional, And also do include your LinkedIn URL as well. Just 5 years ago, I would say, yeah, LinkedIn's great. I recommend it, important. Now it's absolutely vital. Absolutely vital. LinkedIn is so important these days. And do include that URL on your CV so the recruiter can click through very easily to see your profile afterwards. Number 4, a lack of a strong professional profile. A vital introduction, giving recruiters an overview of your experience. That one speaks for itself, I think. Number 5, length. Do not bore recruiters with a CV that is too long. They won't read it. 2 pages is absolutely fine and normal. You can go to 3, and certainly if you're in certain sectors, medical, for example, 3 is okay. But 1, if you're a recent graduate, you're fairly young with experience, 1 page is fine. What's important is to include what is important. Yeah, don't waffle. Don't pack things in just for the sake of it. 6, you're going to think this is bleeding obvious. Spelling, grammar, and typos. Why is that even on my list here? Well, it's on my list here because our research has shown that something like 40% of the CVs we receive have spelling, grammatical errors, or typos in them. That's nearly half. These are amongst the most irritating errors a recruiter sees, but also the most easily avoided with some careful proofreading. Now, when you've been staring at the same document yourself for hours on end, it's easy to, for me, I will skim over errors that I've made in my text. Get someone else to read it. A second pair of eyes can make all the difference. 7, the inclusion of photographs. Rarely flattering, rarely necessary. Definitely not within the UK. Some countries, yes, but in the UK, do not include a photograph. Number 8, an inappropriate heading. I see many CVs still headed curriculum vitae in great big letters, like that's the most important thing about the document. They know it's a curriculum vitae. They know it's a CV. You don't need to spell it out for them. Just put your name at the top. And in reasonably big letters. That's what they want to know. That's what you want them to know, who you are, not the fact it's a curriculum vitae. They're sitting there with a stack of 100 of them. They know full well it's a curriculum vitae. You don't need to state the obvious. Number 9, too much personal information. Recruiters don't need to know your marital status, date of birth, nationality, number of children, what you had for breakfast. I see so many CVs with excessive and superfluous personal detail. Particularly since the introduction of the Equality Act 2010, including things like marital status. It's just not relevant to your ability to do the job. Number 10, a lack of clear section headings. Separate the different sections of your CV clearly so that it's easy to scan quickly. Now, lots of people will use separate section headings, but it'll blur into one. You do need to increase and enhance readability. You need to make it easy for the reader to speed read your CV because they're going to be doing a lot of speed reading that day. So separate out nice and clearly. Don't make them work. Don't make them struggle to see what they need to know. 11, the use of personal pronouns. I, me, except. No, avoid that. Third person. Cut those out. Keep it formal and professional. 12, inappropriate section order. Lots of people follow a sort of standard section order they might have seen in a book or something. They think this is the way to do it. There is no actual way to do it. It depends on the individual situation. For you, you must put the most important information and your greatest selling points first. Okay? So if you left university 10 years ago, then don't put your degree first. Put your experience first. That's what they're going to be most interested. Obviously, the degree is important, and you will include that, but don't have it, front stage. 13, no bullet points, or conversely, too many bullet points. Yeah. So too many goes back to you don't length and including too much waffle and excessive bullet points, but no bullet points at all. Large blocks of prose. Recruiters just don't have the time for that. They really do not have time for that. So that kind of a CV will just go straight in the bin. Use bullet points, but use them obviously sparingly and sensibly. I say obviously, but so many people don't. 14, reverse chronological order not used. Now this is one that pretty much everyone knows, but I do still see a fair number of CVs where people haven't done that and they've started with their oldest information first. What you've done most recently is what's going to be of most interest to an employer. Reverse chronological order, always, in every section. Number 15, excessive details of personal interest. Keep it brief or don't include at all if you have nothing interesting to say. In the old days, UK CVs would always have interests and activities in some detail. The Americans stopped doing that, and we're kind of following their pattern. It's less and less common to see details of interest and activities on a CV, but I'm still quite in favour of it. If you can say something interesting, something which will help you to stand out and help to differentiate you. I spoke to a lady just yesterday who had a real passion for flower design, for example. That's an interesting, something which differentiates her. It's something which helps to make her memorable, for example. But don't say too much on this front in your CV. The only exception would be, say, if you've got very little work experience, you've just graduated, then of course you might want to say more about your extracurricular activities at university, etc. So again, on the theme of standing out, achievements. let's talk about making your achievements stand out. Achievements can make an instant and dramatic difference to the power of your CV. Yeah? They're your opportunity to distinguish yourself from other candidates, to differentiate yourself from them. More achievements equals more interviews. Okay, so how do you identify your achievements? Well, we're talking about things that you've increased, so that could be profit, sales, working capital, efficiency. There's a long list. Things that you decreased, maybe costs, waste, excess stock, customer complaints even. Things that you improved, cash flow, processes, reputation, teamwork. You can see some brainstorming going to be necessary here. Things that you implemented, things that you delivered, change, innovation, events, results. And how to make them stand out? Well, keep them concise. Again, that's the common theme with your CV. Keep everything concise, no waffle. Use strong action verbs, not cliched ones. And do quantify your achievements wherever possible. And I do know that's not always possible, absolutely. But do if you can. Numbers often speak louder than words. So finally, how to make the most of what you did during lockdown. Now, knowing that a lot of people are in a similar situation to you shouldn't make you complacent. You know, how you used the time since you were furloughed or made redundant maybe, that can help recruiters to notice you, when you apply for roles moving forwards. Try seeing things from the perspective of the recruiter. Who are they most likely to remember? The candidate who signed up with schemes like furloughed.com or Furloughed Life and shared their skills for free maybe in the local community, or the ones who worked on their suntan, binge-watched the entire Netflix back catalogue and have a beautiful garden, which is not me, by the way. My garden's a mess. But having said that, most of us are somewhere in between. You should not feel guilty if you have not been able to volunteer or learn new skills whilst you've been out of work. However you spent your time during lockdown, there's no reason at all for you to hide it, of course. You may want to dedicate valuable CV real estate to any volunteering you did. Yes, absolutely. But just a brief line indicating that you were furloughed or made redundant will be perfectly acceptable. There are going to be a lot of people with career gaps in 2020. The recruiter, the reader will understand. Okay, so don't get too hung up about it, please. Now, naturally, if you need any help with your CV, or indeed your cover letter, your LinkedIn profile, your interview technique, any of those things, then we are here to help you at jamesinnes.group. So now, we're not far from the end of today's show. I will be back tomorrow, which is Thursday, for the last episode of this week. Remember, this show is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, each and almost every week. Just two more things. First, I must squeeze in some routine but important requests. Do please check me out on social media and connect, follow, or otherwise stalk me, but please don't troll me. Nobody likes trolls, do they? If you have any questions or comments about this episode, about the show in general, or indeed about life, the universe, insomnia, whatever, then do please let me have them in the comment section below. If you like this episode, then do please hit it with the YouTube thumbs up. If you've kindly given me a thumbs up, then do think about both subscribing to my channel and ringing that bell so that you don't miss out on the next episode. If you've already done all of that, then well, thank you. Finally, what's going to be happening in the next episode? In Thursday's show, I'll be covering the day's workplace news again, and then talking about Plan B, changing career. I do hope you'll tune in. Thank you for watching today. Keep safe and be well, my friends. Goodbye.